Hi everyone, it's Lindy on here from Pink Whisper Designs. Today we're going to make this fun slimline magic slider card. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's get started by using the Art Impressions Slimline die set, and we're going to grab this largest one here. I'm going to go ahead and die cut that, and I'm going to be using my Strathmore Bristol Smooth 100-pound cardstock. So let's run that through the Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cutting machine. And you can see that it's a little bit long here, so I'm just going to slide it down and then run that through again. So now I've got this cloud stencil. This is from the Lawn Fawn collection, and this is called the Cloudy Stencil. And then I'm going to go ahead and use my Hero Arts blending brush. And for ink, I'm using the Distress Oxide Shaded Lilac. And I'm placing that on my We Are Memory Keeper silicone mat just so that the ink pad doesn't move around too much while I do my blending. Now, what I like to do is start on the stencil and then push the ink up over top of the stencil. And that gives me a really nice blend. So I'm placing this on my Wendy Vecchi Make Art station, and I'm using those magnets just to hold that stencil in place for me. I'm going to go down this entire panel the exact same way and fill in all those clouds. And just to let you know, I have all the products listed and linked down below and also on my blog. So once I had that completed, I'm just going to add a little bit of color right down here at the bottom just to fill that in a little bit. You can see how pretty that is. So now let's grab this stamp set. This is the We're Here set from Art Impressions, and we're going to be using those little ladies there. And I'm using my VersaFine Onyx Black ink to do my stamping. I've placed some Bristol Smooth paper in my Mini Misty stamp positioner, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp that. Now I don't need this entire image, so I'm just trying to figure out how big that opening in my slider is going to be, just so I know about how much I need to color in here. So I'm starting off with peach pink, light pink, and the flesh color to do all the faces. And I'll put a little bit of pink on the cheeks, and then I'll use that flesh color to do the skin tones. I'm using my blender pen to do the blending, and these are the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens. These are a water-based pen, so I'm using the blender, the Zig blender, to do my blending here, but you could also use a water brush as well. Now, if you're not sure what these little areas are, and here I just needed to double check, so just grab the packaging. The packaging for the Art Impression stamp sets are just beautiful. It gives you some really nice ideas of where to put your shading, and then you can take a better look at the details with the colored image. So I'm adding a little pink to their lips for the lipstick here, and then I'm just going to blend out that cheek color a little bit better. And then I did the hands with that flesh color as well. So now let's go ahead and do this little lady's shirt, and I'm using light violet and deep violet. And I'll be listing all the colors I'm using in the upper left-hand corner as we go along. And they'll also be listed down below as well. So here I'm just going to use that darker color to do some of the shadowing, and that lighter color, I'll blend those two together. Now you can start with your lighter color and then add your darker color after you do your blending. But here you can see I'm going to just lay down both colors at the same time, and then I'll blend those in. And then you can come back in and add a little bit of shadowing here and there if you need to. Now if you get too much ink, you can see there I'm just scribbling it onto my scrap paper. So you can remove ink as well. So you just want to grab it from your image and scribble it onto your scrap paper. So this is pretty quick and simple coloring here. There's not a lot to color. Again, we don't need to color in this entire image because we're just going to be using just the ladies themselves. So now I'm using the light gray, and I'm just going to do her pant legs here. But again, I only a small portion of that is going to show. So I'm keeping them white, And to do that, I'm just going to add a little shadow of that light gray. So let's go ahead and do this little lady shirt in the background here. And I'm using purple to do that. I'm just going to use the one color here. So I'm going back to that same color and I'll do the little purse. Just adding the color down towards the bottom and then I'll pull that up towards the top. And then I'll finish coloring in all the little accessories here. I'll do their earrings. And I'm just using a combination of those different colors that we already used. And then I'll just go back to that light gray to do this lady's shirt as well. And then I did decide to grab that gray-brown color just to add a little bit more shadowing to her shirt. I just didn't think it was shadowed quite enough, so I'm going to add a little bit there. And now I'm switching to the turquoise green, and I'll go ahead and color the shirt. There's just a little bit of it showing there of that third lady back there. So I just have a few little areas to do with that. Then with lemon yellow and oatmeal, I'll do this lady's hair. Just using that oatmeal to add a little bit of a shadow there so that it's not too bright yellow. And then I'll use light brown on this woman's hair. And that light brown has a little bit of a reddish tint to it. And then I'm using dark oatmeal for this first lady. Kind of placing it down towards the bottom of her hair and then I'll pull it up towards the top there. And then for this last one, I'm going back to that oatmeal and yellow combination. So now we have everything filled in. I'm going to add a little bit of a shadow here to this lady's pants. Not sure how much of that is going to show, but I'll just quickly fill that in with that oatmeal color. And then I did this wood trim, but I end up cutting that away, so don't worry about that. So I'm just checking again the opening of that magic slider just to see if I've colored everything in that I need. And now I'm going to take my detail scissors and I'm going to go ahead and cut away any excess here. I do want to keep her hand, but I don't want to keep that doorway there. So I'm going to start cutting. I'm going to follow the lines exactly. So I'm not going to leave a little white border like I normally do. I'm going to cut right up against that black line. So I'll finish cutting that out off camera. And you can see what that looks like. Now I did leave that left-hand side there just because I'm not sure exactly where that's going to fall on my slider. So I'm leaving it there for now, and that way if I need to, I can fill that in. I've just got my white gel pen here and I'm adding some highlights here and there. So let's set that aside. So let's grab some pattern paper from the Watercolor Wishes Rainbow Petite Paper Pack. You can see that you get these pretty polka dots and you also get all those beautiful variegated colors up above. So I've grabbed one of those polka dot papers that has kind of the purpley blue tones to it. And then to do our balloons, I'm going to use all these different papers here. And these will give us a nice variety of colors for the balloons. I'll just mix and match all those colors. So for the balloons, I'm using the Birthday Buggy set from Art Impressions. And you can see you get 3 different balloons here. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp these again out of these various colors, but I'll just show you what I did. I'm just going to use one as an example here, and then I did the exact same thing for all of the other balloons. So I've gone ahead and stamped it using some VersaFine Onyx Black ink. I'll tape that down with a little bit of purple tape, and then I'll run each of these through my Sizzix Sidekick machine. Now to give these a little bit more substance, I'm going to run them through again using some Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock. And then I'll go ahead and glue those two together. And I'm using my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to do this. Once that's done for all of the balloons, I'm going to go ahead and use my Wink of Stella glitter pen, and I'm going to add some glitter to each of these balloons. Then I'll set those aside to dry, and then I'll come in with my white Jelly Roll gel pen and add a little highlight to each of these. So I've got all of those done. I did the rest of those off camera. Now to create the slider, we're using the Magic Color Slider from Lawn Fawn, and you can see it creates this little slider mechanism. And then to start, I've got the base of the mechanism, which I'm going to die cut, and also the little tab for the slider. And that's going to be die cut from the Lawn Fawn Sparkle cardstock from the spring collection. And we're using that pretty lavender color. Now I'll die cut this piece out of some Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock, and then I'll die cut two of these from that same cardstock. And then this piece here will die cut the opening from our mechanism, and this piece here will die cut the acetate. And I'm using the Lawn Fawn clear acetate for this. So I went ahead and die cut that clear acetate and all of these other pieces. So I'm going to fold this one in half, and you can see that slider will go right in and out of there. There's a little slot up at the top. And that little tab will get connected to that mechanism. And then these two pieces will get glued together. And the acetate will go behind our window. So let's go ahead and cut that window opening. I'm centering it on the front part of the panel here. I've opened that up, and then I'm going to tape that down with a little bit of purple tape. And I'll run that through the die cutting machine. So this piece we can just set aside for another project. And then I'm going to die cut a second one of this out of that polka dotted cardstock. I'm just trying to figure out what color polka dots I want there. So I'm just positioning it right in the place that I need it to be. And then I'll tape that down and run that through the die cutting machine. So now I can go ahead and glue these two together. Now you want to make sure you have glue right up to the edges, because this is going to be going in and out of that slider, and I don't want anything to get caught. So I want to tape that down really well. So let's set that aside to dry. Now I've got these two little U-shaped pieces. I'm using my 1/8 inch double-sided tape, and you want to use a really strong adhesive here. So I'm going to place that on all three sides. And then I'm removing the backing from that tape. I'll just press that down with my bone folder. It makes it a little easier to remove that backing. And then I'm positioning that down at the bottom and along the sides. So you want to make sure you line it up right along those edges. And then I'll press that out with the bone folder again. And then I'm going to add that second layer. So I'm going to place that 1/8 inch tape on all three sides again. Now again, later on we'll be coming in with a third layer here. I just felt by adding all these extra layers of decorative paper that I probably needed to thicken that up a little bit. But you'll see that here a little bit later on. So now I've got that pressed out. So let's go ahead and add our acetate. I'm adding that 1/8 inch tape all the way around the inside of that opening. I'm removing the backing, and then I'll place that acetate behind that window. I'm just cleaning it off with my Nuvo Surface Sweep brush just to get away any dust. And then I'm going to Position that in place and press that down with the bone folder. So now we can just check and make sure everything's working properly there. And I want to just see where these little ladies are going to be positioned. And I'm not going to cut away that excess there off to the left until I'm sure that I have these positioned in place. So I'm going to go ahead and glue these down. And again, I want plenty of adhesive right up to the edges here. I don't want any little pieces to get stuck or caught on that mechanism as they're going in and out. So you'll see here that I'm going to use my finger just to spread that glue right up to the edges. So I'm going to press that down really well. And then I can go ahead and cut away any of that excess. I'm just using my Tim Holtz scissors here to do that. And then if you notice any areas after you cut away that excess that need to be colored in, you can go ahead and do that. So I'm just checking again to make sure that's going to slide in and out very easily. Now I noticed as it was sliding out that I wanted a little bit of pattern paper underneath there. So I thought it would be nice to add a little bit more of that polka dotted paper. So I cut a piece to size, which measures 2.5 by 3 inches. And I'm going to glue that right down in that little opening there. Again, making sure I have glue right up to the edges here. So I'm using my bone folder just to press that out really well. Again, just checking everything to make sure that it's working properly. And now I can go ahead and stamp my sentiment. So I've grabbed this set here. This is called the Dance It Out set from Art Impressions. And you can see all these cute little sentiments you have, but I'm going to grab that one there. And that says, getting old is fun if you do it with the right people. So I thought that was perfect for this little card. So let's go ahead and ink that up. I've placed it in my mini Misty stamp positioner. And I'm going to go ahead and use the VersaFine Onyx Black ink to stamp that. And I've just centered it on that panel. So here's where I decided to add one more of those U-shaped pieces of cardstock. And I've added some tape there around the edges, and I'm going to tape that in place. And that, again, will give us a little bit more room for that mechanism. So let's go ahead and glue this little arrow tab on. And now we can close up our slider mechanism. So I'm adding one more layer of that same tape around all 3 sides. And you want to make sure that is sitting right inside that channel there. You want to make sure your slider mechanism is sitting inside the channel, and then you can go ahead and close this. And then that'll just slide in and out, and I just think this is so much fun. So now I've got a piece of cardstock here that measures 8.5 by 7 inches, and I'm scoring it at 3.5 inches. So this will be a standard slimline card, which will measure 3.5 by 8.5. I'm just pressing that out with the bone folder. And now I can go ahead and figure out where my balloons need to be. So this will be down at the bottom of the card. with equal distance around the left, the right, and the bottom. And then I'm going to kind of position those balloons, kind of a bouquet of balloons coming out of the top there. So I've positioned them down, and then I'm going to mark the bottom of each of the balloons with a pencil mark. That way I know where to put the little streamers. So I've marked all of these with a pencil. And then I can go ahead and set these off to the side while I draw in all of those streamers. So I'm using a permanent black marker, and I'll be using my Pitt Artist pen, and it's a 0.1 millimeter pen. And then what I'm going to do is put a little dot here at the bottom too. That'll be the center point of our mechanism. So I'm just going to draw a line from dot to dot here and just kind of make those lines a little bit curvy just to add a little more interest. So now I can go ahead and add all of these little balloons. I'm just laying those out again, and I did play around with these quite a bit. I kept moving them around, trying to get the colors kind of mixed up a little bit here. So play around with that, and then once you're ready, you can go ahead and attach those. So then what I'm going to do is add a few little strings coming off the side of each of the balloons, just to make it look like that string was tied onto there. So I'm just adding a few little strings kind of just coming off to the side, and I'll give you a closer look at that, but you'll see that I missed a couple, so at the very end you'll see that I did add those to the two that I missed. So you can see that there, and that just adds a little more interest here. So now let's go ahead and attach this panel to the front of our card. And now we can also place this mechanism on the front of the card. Now you want enough room for your fingers to be able to pull on that tab. So what I'm going to do here is take some foam mounting tape, and I'm going to double it up. And that'll lift it up off the card just high enough so that you can kind of get your fingers in there to pull on that little tab. So I've just doubled up the tape here, and then I'm just going to fill it in the back of this panel. And you want to make sure you use plenty of it, just to make sure it stands up nice and secure here. So I'll remove the backing from the tape, and then again I'm just going to center it on the bottom here so that I have kind of an equal distance on the bottom and the two sides. And again, just checking that to make sure that slides in and out. So now I'm going back to that birthday buggy set, and I'm going to grab that happy birthday banner, and that does come with the coordinating die. So I'm going to go ahead and ink up that stamp, and then I'll put that coordinating die on there with some purple tape and run that through the Sizzix Sidekick machine. So now let's go back to that shaded lilac and just add a little bit of color right around the edges of this. That'll just tie everything together. Now I can go ahead and tape that down, and I'm going to center it on the bottom of the frame of our magic slider card. So I've got some little sequins from the Picket Fence Studio sequin mix, and I'm going to go ahead and just put 3 of these right on the front of the acetate here. And so when the slider goes up, it'll add a little bit more interest. You'll see these 3 little sequins. So you do want to make sure you position those so they're not in the way of your sentiment. So let me give you a closer look at this card and our sparkly balloons. And I just think these little ladies are so cute. And then that slides up to reveal our sentiment So I hope you were inspired to give this a try. If you enjoyed today's video, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a single video. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.